By 2050, the population of the African continent will be between 3 and 4 billion, and demographers estimate it at 4.4 billion by 2100. This is undoubtedly the market of the future. That's why Americans, Asians, and Europeans are fighting for billions of dollars to conquer this customer. And in order for Africa to get to the table for better use, it must catch up with its technological backwardness in express recycling, in the all-out financing of new innovative startups, new information technologies and communications. It must, Africa, like a goose that's fed to hope for good foie gras, master all the theories and techniques put together to create machines capable of simulating intelligence, to understand, to learn, and to adapt. Glad to know that many of you are here on Freaka TV. Welcome to Economy First. We are recording the first program on artificial intelligence, Africa, the market of the future. And we have as guest on this set Mr. Christopher Omba. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are a digital transformation manager. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
You're welcome.
In my right, Mr. Fomba Collins. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are a computer engineer and you have 9 years of professional experience in fintech. Thank you also for accepting our invitation.
You're welcome.
Dear viewers, subscribe to the channel and don't hesitate to click the button I like. My first question is for Mr. Fomba Collins. Is artificial intelligence today, more than yesterday, the key to Africa's profound change?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think if we look at the technological trends in the world today, and I think if we equally look at the trends in development,
Yes.
Developmental trends today are generally aligned to technology. Unlike earlier before, that development was, let's say, oriented to other aspects, like maybe we say roads, we say buildings, and so on. But today we are realizing that technology is having a heavier weight when we now talk of development. And in the line of technology, we equally see that artificial intelligence is one of the technologies that is transforming the world, transforming the way we do things, transforming the way we behave. And so I think it is actually a way forward in the development of Africa. If we have to look at the way, let's say, other places, let's say, in Europe, in Asia, or in the United States, we look at the latest developments or the recent trends of developments that are happening in these places, we realize that artificial intelligence plays a lot of roles, especially in the domain of predictive analysis, in the domain of even language, even communication, and so on, predicting what ought to be done by human intelligence and being able to be done through computer programs. So I think it actually has a lot of impact in the development of Africa.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Christopher Omba, are there any preliminaries so that Africa does not lag behind in this necessary transition to modernity?
Absolutely. This question must be asked because it's at the cornerstone of the way new technology need to be organized. As a matter of fact, government need to define and to monitor the blueprint of new technology and the blueprint of artificial intelligence and e-governance as well. Many of them have understood, but they may commit some mistake when they just define a role plan and they forget to update the plan as soon as things are evolving. Because when we look around things in many other continents, in Asia for example, the rate of new innovation is so high that we cannot be sure that the vision can keep at the same level. It has to be updated every time, and it's not always the case. And there are many key players that may have a very good influence on new technology and artificial intelligence, but most of the time in Africa they are not listed. They came from the private sectors. So government need to define blueprint based on the careful attention of private key players to define adjustments and to reach to a goal. There is also this permanent issue of funding because new technology are very demanding in terms of money. They need to define something on a global scale to have a proper level of influence and to make profit of this opportunity for for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fomba, the next question. Is it late to review our training models in our polytechnic schools?
There is a say that goes, it's better late than never, although we are not yet late. And I think we are not late, and I think it is time for us even to review our training models, because looking back, I think sometimes last year I had the opportunity to work for a consulting firm for the Ministry of Higher Education to review the academic programs that are to be proposed to schools in the higher education, and equally some in the secondary education. But I realized that the model that there are still, because we make the proposals and they take the final decisions, the models that are still implemented are models which may not make us to move forward the way we ought to be. Because if we look at, for example, in my domain, for example, we see that most schools, most higher educational institutions that offer computer science training, they are generally oriented towards what they call informatique de gestion, that is management computing.
Yes.
Meanwhile, today we are already going above that. We need to move beyond that if we really want to be innovative. We should not only be innovative. That one is good because it helps in digital transformation of managerial processes. But if we have to really improve in domain of innovation, coming out with good new technologies, new processes, new ways of doing things, especially in the domain of artificial intelligence, then a lot still has to be done in line with organizing our academic programs. I will equally say that it needs to start from the base. If we look at something like artificial intelligence that we are talking about, the basis has a lot of mathematics. But how well are we encouraging our children or the scholars to engage in this domain of mathematics, which is feared by almost everybody? So I think there are concepts like these, are things like this that those in the power, those in the position need to consider and reorientate our academic programs to suit where we want to reach.
Okay, I will stay with you again. Is not is it not time for some African states to redefine their policies on financing and encouraging initiatives to propose intelligent solutions to real problems?
I think it is really the time to do it. It's really time to do it because uh, the policies of the state need to align with the mission or the vision of the state. If the state has as mission to promote technological advancements or to promote to promote digitalization, then the policies of the states, the policies of the country have to follow. The policies have to do in, for example, we look at investment policies too. When we look at this, we look at investment policies. Uh, it will not just be a matter of declaring that we want maybe our country, Cameroon, to be emergent or to be a technological or digital country by 2020 or 2025. But let's look at how is the government prioritizing its investments. Uh, are their investments being oriented towards the digital transformation phase? Like we know that when we talk about digital transformation, we'll talk about artificial intelligence, we'll talk about technology these days. The backbone is internet. The backbone is internet. Uh, are there policies oriented towards making sure that internet is accessible to everybody in the country at a good rate, at a good speed? Because the same technologies that we could even be wasting our time here in Africa or in Cameroon developing, meanwhile, they'll never be used because the technologies are not there to accompany them. So I think the states, the various states or the countries have to align their policies to the visions that they want the countries to have. Except that they don't want the digital transformation of Africa, except that they don't want Africa to be digitally up, then we will remain verbally by saying that we want a digital economy and we do investments on the other side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, welcome, dear viewers. As reminder, you are on Freecat TV. The broadcast is economy first, and we have as theme artificial intelligence, Africa, the market of the future. Dear viewers, subscribe to the channel and don't hesitate to click to the bottom I like. Mr. Umba, is the 10 million that the Jack Ma Foundation, founded by the Chinese founder of the Alibaba Group, wants to make available to contractors on the African continent for about 10 years a solution to master artificial intelligence?
It's much more an invitation to open up our minds about a topic that is relevant for development. But in terms of impact, if we consider this amount is going to be a low in many places throughout the continent, it's not enough. We need to transform our mindset, our culture about new technologies. We need to create pools of funds through the people, through crowdfunding, through government, by making some tax to motivate the key players and national intelligences to involve themselves with brand new ideas. We even need to go further by competition as to the young people to submit some ideas like it's sometimes done in other countries. You will be amazed to discover what is done in other places. Even in Silicon Mountain, in Silicon Valley, there are plenty of companies, startups that were just raised because that were having fun because they have succeed in the academic level. So we need to push the boundaries of the way we see new technology and innovation, because if we don't do so, we are going to be late. These $10 million are not bad, but not significant, not enough to to all those transformation need to be respond with a proper level of funding.
Okay. And the $1 million to reward the best initiatives.
$1 million? I don't understand the question.
And the $1 million to reward the best initiatives.
That's the best initiatives who have $1 million
Yes.
each per year. I think he's going in for 1,000 initiatives a year of 1 million each. If I'm not, no, 100 of $1 million each, which will give 10 million for the 10 years. So it is the 10 million is for a
10
period of
years.
10 years, and so each best initiative will have the best initiatives that will be selected, because they're selecting 10 finalists that will have 1 million
Okay.
each. So
Okay.
that's how it's going to be. The $1 million will be shared to the finalists, and that will be for a period of 10 years. So 1
Okay.
million each for a
8
period of 10
years.
years. 10 years to
Okay.
give the $10 million. So,
Basically,
Go
it can
ahead.
be a very an interesting starting point,
exactly.
because there are plenty of young people having good projects, but they fear to fight to get funding because there will never be enough to give them the take up that is required to reach to a significant level in terms of influence. But if you have something like $1,000 for a project, it can be a very good starting point for expansion. It can demonstrate to the public power that we can create things, because it's a lack of vision. There are plenty of those who are in charge who are not born with this within this technology, so they cannot understand. It's not bad actually, but we need to push our government and central bank and development bank of Africa to define policies that are going to take up projects so that they can be implemented for the greatest good of all our people. We need to go even beyond the regional side. We need to have continental project scalable within artificial intelligence for many sectors like insurance, like banking, like agriculture, because we are talking about agri-tech. You can use how do we call those tech? I don't know, even remember those things that they fly. I'm forgetting my word because I have so plenty ideas. We can analyze what is happening within our crops and detect many failures and correct them to so we can use drones to follow and monitor our crops and to analyze, being back up with all the data of the economy to anticipate and make predictable analysis so that we can master our economy. You see, in terms of digital transformation, if we miss that opportunity, we are going to be the losers.
Thank you. My last question, is for Mr. Fomba. In next to the Chinese giant of the online sale, there is the American of the Simplified Shares Company, SAS, which wants to invest 500 billion CFA francs in human resource for the access of local operators to its latest technologies related to artificial intelligence, a program that will have to spread over 3 years. Definitely, is Africa the new market of the future?
I think Africa is the new market of the future. looking at its population, looking at its potentials, and looking at the degree to which the potentials are being exploited, I think there are still a lot of opportunities to be exploited in Africa which have not yet been exploited. And so Africa is definitely the market of the future. Coming to the investments, I think the one good thing with that investment is that it is specific. It is an investment on human capital because they too have realized on their end that human capital is a necessity in the development process. Without human capital, without people who master the technology, without people who can be able to develop the technology, it will serve no purpose, or it will be extra or ultra expensive for them to import these human resources from Europe or from Asia or from the United States. Because one thing we have to note is in Africa, the labor force is cheaper. That's another thing. That's one of the reasons too that they are running here. And if we realize, if we have been following up the news about 2 weeks ago when Jumia entered the stock exchange in New York as the first African startup, when they stated that it was first African startup, there were some controversies when their CEO stated that they don't have African developers. That are developers, or the development base is in Portugal, the technological base is in Portugal, because they did not find Africans capable enough to serve in their technological department. There's no Africans that can develop, there are no Africans that can do a series of things and so on. So I think with what SaaS is offering, it is an opportunity for us Africans to pick it as an advantage, develop our skills, upgrade our skills, and make ourselves ready for the market, such that people like Jumia should not come again in the future and say Africans are not ready, even if it is a controversial statement. But we should not give the opportunity for such controversial statements to come up. So I think Africa, looking at the potential that it has, looking at the cheap labor force, looking at the level of on exploitation of our opportunities, I think it is definitely the market of the future. And so we really have to do a lot to be ready for the technological advancements that are coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fomba Christopher, for being here. Thank you, Mr. Omba Christophe.
To go beyond, because we have not finished yet,
Okay.
we can also add that Africa countries have a very specific opportunity. Their connection with nature give them the possibility to use biomimetism to observe the nature and to duplicate nature functional activities as business model that can be reliable in artificial intelligence. And there's another aspect. There are plenty of sectors that are not even explored, and the population, as Mr. Fomba was saying, is growing up. So we are going to have a population that multiply himself by 2 within the coming years, and have much more expansion in terms of open-mindedness within this population. That this is going to create plenty of products that may not even exist for the moment. So Africa is the only way to go.
Thank you very much. Dear viewers, subscribe to the channel and don't hesitate to click to the button I like. Thank you for watching us, and very soon on Freaker TV.